Welcome to the Brad and Taylor Show. On today's episode, we have David Lamarand.
You're listening to The Brad and Taylor Show, a podcast that inspires entrepreneurs to pursue their passions. We're sitting down with some of the best to learn how they got started and some lessons they learned along the way.
How's it going?
Good. How are you guys? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem.
Yep. Awesome. So what exactly do you do?
I'm a real estate agent in, the Metro Detroit area, and not really specific in one location, though I do live in Livonia, and just with eXp Realty, and it's my second going on third year in real estate.
Nice. So I know you didn't start in real estate. So let's back it up. Like, what did you want to do when you were really little?
When I was really little, that's a tough one. I don't know that I remember a lot. I remember thinking I was funny in class one time and saying I wanted to be a trucker because I thought that would be cool. And then I remember faintly liking the thought of being an astronaut, but then the whole Challenger catastrophe happened, so I changed that perspective a little bit. But yeah, I didn't really have any real ambitions as a kid of like what I wanted to do. And to be honest, I just thought I assumed I would end up doing some sort of manufacturing job in a big three or something along those lines.
Yeah. So I know you did. So what did you end up going to do?
Yeah. So as I was growing up in my early 20s, I did many, many different types of odd jobs, a lot in construction. And what I ended up finding in all of that was photography. So my initial career move was photography, and it was something that I kind of fell into. It was literally like just taking photos. Well, the story's funny is that I had just a little point and shoot digital camera, and I had a lot of time on my hands, and I would take pictures for my MySpace page back then.
Yeah.
And from my MySpace page, people I knew started asking me to take their pictures, which kind of slowly started to snowball. And then one day I had a neighbor ask me, could I shoot their wedding? And I was like, whoa, like that's
big.
Too intense for me. I can't do that, especially with this little crappy camera. And they were saying like, hey, we don't even care. We just want somebody to take pictures, and we don't want to worry about it. So we don't really care about your equipment or your skill level, and we'll pay you $500. And I was like, oh, hey.
Yeah.
So at the time that was great.
Yep.
So I went out and spent that money on getting a better camera. And then after I did that wedding, it was just like off to the races. People just started hitting me up for weddings constantly. And that worked for about 12 years. And it was a good career, but it's like when you're in the creative field, I think you can get burned out. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
To where it was just kind of like, I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. This isn't really that fun anymore. I mean, weddings were fun. I always had a good time, but and plus I just never had weekends.
Yep.
So every weekend for the past 12 years, I've been at a wedding, somebody else's.
Yep.
So anyways, that along with just, I think the market was getting oversaturated. So I figured it was a good time for a career move. And lucky me, I chose to make that move right before COVID hit.
I know. I was thinking about that. I was like, I remember it was 2 years ago you said. So I remember you said you were going to go into that. And then I was just thinking about that right before you said that. I was like, oh, right before COVID, you pulled that off real well.
Yeah. Well, I remember when I bought my house, I was like, why do all these real estate agents have crappy photos of their listings? It just didn't make any sense to me. It was frustrating. Yeah. And then I thought, well, at least, if I ever decided to do it, I could take good photos of my listings. And I actually reached out to you. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. I was telling Taylor that before this call.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Because right before I actually started to, I think I wasn't sure if I had my license yet or not, but I was thinking about maybe I can do real estate photography, but I quickly realized that I liked the idea of doing real estate. So
yeah,
I think I did my first maybe 2 listing photos, and then I just started calling you guys up.
Yep. You're like, well, at this rate, I'm just going to solve it. So yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you said you've been doing it for 2 years now. Have you, didn't you switch? I think you switched brokerage. Did you at the same brokerage?
No, nope. I jumped on when I learned all the details about eXp, primarily because running my own business as I previously did, I knew I wanted to work from home, for one. 2, I personally am not the kind of guy that likes the 9 to 5, go to the office in my khakis, and it's just not me. So I knew I wanted to run my business my own way. I wanted to do my own kind of marketing strategies. I just, I had a pretty good grasp on what I wanted to do. And so when I got the breakdown of how it went, it was just like, now this is perfect. It's exactly what I need, and now's the time. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Did you do that? Was that before was that before? Was that last year or was that the year before? How long have you been at EXP?
Well, I mean, when I got my license, so it was 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Well,
So, gotcha.
it'll be
Okay.
3 years in June or the end of May.
Gotcha. Okay. I got you now.
Yeah.
I was, sorry about that.
No, it's fine. I mean, I started there, but I just, I think the first year as a new agent, you hustle hard,
yes.
try to get business, and you don't get a lot of business, and that's when a lot of agents don't make it,
Yep.
But I knew I could make it work, so I just kept hustling, and then year 2 was fantastic. It was a really great year for me.
Yeah,
nice.
that's awesome.
Take us back to that first transaction. How did that go?
The first transaction, so with EXP, you get a mentor.
Okay.
Julie Moretus was my mentor. And so she actually helped me with that one. She had too much on her plate and she was like, do you mind helping this client? And luckily, I think it was the second house I showed them that they liked it and wanted to move forward. And admittedly, I had Julie holding my hand through a lot of that transaction, which was very helpful. Otherwise, I don't think it would have been as well done. But because in EXP, we're supposed to have a mentor for our first 3 transactions.
Okay.
And after that, then when you're kind of off on your own, I just remember the paperwork taking me forever. Like I can knock out the paperwork for an offer in 15, 20 minutes right now. But then it was like 4 hours of, because I'm like, what do I do? I don't know what to do. I'm calling people. And
that's a lot of paperwork, isn't it?
Well, yeah. And I mean, it is a lot of paperwork and it wasn't, I mean, it is a lot of paperwork, but once you know what you're doing, you fly through it. So, but yeah, the transactions went fine. And in the beginning, I mean, most of my offers were getting accepted because I had a good mentor with Julie, but also my team. I shouldn't say my team, the team that I'm on, the Lux Group team. Yeah. I mean, there's over 100 agents on there. And the nice thing is, I can pop in a group chat and spit out what's going on to get other opinions if I want to. And I was able to learn a lot really fast through working with agents that have been in the industry for years that do fantastic work.
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. That definitely helps out a lot. Is there any advice you got like starting out that kind of stuck with you along the way?
Yes. Yes. Well, there was actually a previous client of mine was a real estate agent and I had run into him at an event and told him what was going on. And he said a mentor told him that all transactions die at some point. And it hasn't necessarily been true, but what it did was it set my expectations and it was super helpful because when I would put in an offer, I immediately would think it's not going to get accepted. I would just kind of set myself up for disappointment mentally. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because then if it didn't, then I wouldn't be destroyed.
Right.
And then when the offer would get accepted, I would move into, okay, this thing could fall apart anywhere in here. And I need to be prepared for that. Yeah. So mentally, I was always prepared for a deal falling apart. I never financially expected the paycheck at the end because I thought, I don't know what's going to happen. And so setting my expectations was a really big part of it. But I think having 12 years in customer service as a photographer beforehand has lent itself very well to me in this business because it's in this business and in most, customer service businesses, it's really about your relationships, honesty, integrity,
Yep.
And if you're just trying to push for the money and trying to push for the sale, then eventually it's going to kill your business. But if the way I've always looked at it is if I treat my people well, I treat them with respect and I'm looking out for their best interest, they're going to appreciate that. And eventually it will all come back to me. You know what I mean? So, So far it's worked out well.
Yeah, nice. That's awesome. So do you, I forgot what I was going to say.
I have a question. So switching that question around, what is the worst piece of advice you've ever been given?
Oh,
that's a good question. I don't know that I've gotten a really bad piece of advice. I think not necessarily advice, but I've heard other agents or seen examples of other agents where they push back really hard on things. And there is a time to push back, but if you kind of go into things with that mentality with other agents, it's just going to create a bad relationship and a bad transaction. And so I take a different approach and I just try to build a good relationship. Because the way I look at it is there's a good chance whatever this other agent is that I'm working with, if I burn this bridge and I run into him again on another transaction, what are you going to deal with? You know, I think in the almost 3 years I've been doing this, I've only had one really bad situation, and it was just a miscommunication between agents. It was lost in translation, and it didn't go pretty. And I tried the best I could to make it work out well, and it did in the end, of course. But it's really another reason why communication is key. So anyways, I'm not going to get too much into that, but
yeah, that's awesome. What is one of your most memorable transactions or houses you visited or something?
I would say the one that when I talk about the most was it was one of the nicer house. I shouldn't say one of the more expensive houses I sold, but it came down to the clients were really great, and it was a completely sight unseen transaction.
Huh.
So it was just a funny scenario because I got a lead. I went to the house and I went to do a virtual tour. The buyers were based out of California. The house is in Farmington Hills. And I go to do this virtual tour, and the clients were fantastic. And they hadn't gotten pre-approved yet. So I got a pre-approval letter from a lender, and the lender calls me up and he goes, they can buy whatever they want. And I was like, oh, really? Like, literally, whatever they want, they can buy it. I was like, wow, that's cool. But it was pretty neat. I showed them the house. They via FaceTime, walked them through, and then they wanted to see one other house of a new construction just for contrast, because the house we were looking at was older, but they loved the location. So I showed them the new property, and then we went back and they loved the first one. But it was the first time I had done a transaction that was sight unseen. Didn't meet the clients until a month after the closing, when they came to the house and I came to give them their gift. But they were just really cool to work with, and the house was just really cool. It was like on a cliffside, and it was neat.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Nice.
So let's say you went a full year, and then all of a sudden COVID happened. So you just got some traction, you just got going, and then all of a sudden you get shut down. How did that go?
That's a good question. Yeah, actually, I was going to bring that up, and I'm glad you did. So, I get my business now, and the reason I've done well in the past 2 years because of Zillow, which is very controversial in the real estate space. Some agents hate them. What I did was I had gone to and this is kind of sidebar to what the question was, but I had gone to an event, and there was a panel of speakers, and one of the agents explained when he got up how he went from doing like 2 transactions his first year to doing like 15 million in his second year. And when they asked what he did, he said, I went on Zillow and I bought leads through there. And I was like, oh, I'm going to have to try this. Right. Yeah. So I went home and I bought a little piece of what I could afford. At the time, I wasn't making a lot of money. I bought into the Redford zip code because it's right by me in Livonia. And, at first it was trickling in some leads, but what I had learned in the first year was I was trying all these different lead sources, and all of them were just giving me cold leads, or what they call top funnel leads that aren't really ready to buy. They're just tire kickers, or maybe they just wanted to see the photo that you posted. And I just really wasn't interested in that. I wanted to get to the hot leads. Right. Everybody does. Right. Yep. So I'm going to give the Zillow thing a try. So getting back to COVID, I'm sitting there playing video games in my sweatpants in my living room, Call of Duty, because I couldn't do anything else. Yep. COVID hit. I'm sitting there and I'm like, cool, I can just play video games all day. Sweet. So I'm doing that. But in a moment, I remembered when I've listened to successful business people and entrepreneurs and whatnot, that they'd always look for opportunities like COVID as an opportunity for growth and an opportunity to make a move. And of course, I didn't have much money. So I'm like, it's not like I can go out and buy real estate right now. And plus, real estate wasn't even down at the time. Yeah. But what I did think was, I was like, wait a minute, I bet other agents are jumping out of Zillow to save money because they don't know what the future holds. So it's a really good time for me to jump in more. So I ran back to my account, and my game was on pause. I ran back in here and then I opened up my account, and I noticed there was a bunch of extra equity in the zip code that I was in, Redford. So I immediately, I didn't even have the money. I had a business credit card. I put it on there, and I bought the majority equity in that zip code. And that was the game changer. So now I'm sitting here still playing video games in my living room because there's not much else to do. And I'm getting calls for new leads. And every single call that came in, I said, look, we can't go out and show you houses right now. It's just not an option. However, if you're not pre-approved, we can get the ball rolling. We can get all these other things going, or maybe they need to work on their credit. So we'll start working on their credit. I'm like, this is the time to get the things going.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that when we open back up, you're good to go. And it was brilliant because by the time we were opened back up, I had a pipeline of buyers that I had
Ready to
stocked
go.
up
Yeah.
while I was getting these calls in my sweats, And so as soon as they opened it back up, all of a sudden everybody's calling me up and I was off to the races.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so I took advantage of that opportunity to buy more equity in that zip code. And that was how it worked out best for me.
Yeah. And especially with everybody at home, just what else are they going to be doing? Looking online.
Exactly. And the funny thing is I don't feel like I've gotten nearly as many calls as I did at that time because everybody was stuck at home.
Yep.
Right.
That worked out really well, especially because you got launched right into the whole year. So
For sure.
How did that end when you went back to your game? Call of Duty. No, we got to repeat this. We got to go back into this. You paused it to do that. Did you go back and you're like, I'm just gonna keep on going?
Yeah, of course. I had to go in there and save the world.
Right.
That's awesome. I like it.
Moving forward in the next 2 to 5 years, do you have any goals that you want to accomplish?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of goals. I got into real estate because I want to own property. So
Okay.
my long-term goals are to own some rental properties. But as far as the business is concerned, I want to grow my team. So I'm looking for, I want agents that want to come on the team that want to learn and that are hungry. I mean, the failure rate is like 80% or something in real estate.
Yeah.
And I can spot the people that can do it and can't do it because it's not easy, and you're running your own business. And if you think that you're going to get your license and just come into work and jobs are going to fall in your lap, wrong. I mean, I thought that I had quite a good sphere of influence from my photography business. And so I thought, I'm going to send out this email to all my past clients and the work's just going to come pouring in. No. I mean, and the majority of my work isn't even referral business. I mean, I do get referral business, but I'm still so new to the business that I don't get a lot of referral business. So anyways, point is, a lot of agents think that you can just come in. It's not a job where you punch a clock and you get paid. You have to make sales.
Yep.
But it's patience and time and where you allocate your funds and what you do. I mean, like I said, Zillow, I spent a lot of money on Zillow leads, and a lot of agents, when I talk to them, they're like, you're crazy. I would never spend that kind of money. And it's like, well, I never would either, except I would have never generated the revenue I generated had I not had those leads.
Right.
So it's just the cost of doing business,
Yep.
And I actually got my first, hold on, I'm going to brag. Can I brag?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
I like
Second year
it.
in business through EXP Icon, which is cool because with EXP, with all brokerages, you get a 16, or I'm sorry, every brokerage has a cap. I don't know if you know about this.
Yep.
So once you hit your cap at EXP, if you Icon, then you can earn all your cap money back in stock.
Oh, nice.
And so it's essentially not paying a cap, which is pretty exciting. But so I managed to do that in my second year, primarily because I spent money that, I didn't necessarily have on Zillow leads. However,
Gotta take a risk, right?
What's that?
You gotta take a risk, right?
Exactly. It's running a business. You take a risk. And I was sweating, man, when that bill was coming in.
I bet.
It's like I got this fat bill coming in and I haven't had any closings, but they're on the horizon,
Yeah.
So, but anyways, I got way off track. My plans for the future are just to kind of grow my team. I like to teach people. And so I look forward to teaching other agents and grow my team below me.
Yeah.
But also to own more real estate. And obviously I'm trying to get into better price points. I think every real estate agent wants to, but I also don't mind doing any kind of transaction because business is business, right?
Yep, for sure. Awesome. Hey, if you had to start over today, you had all the knowledge you had, how would you spend your first $1,000?
I think I answered that question.
Zillow?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think when I first jumped in there, I jumped in with a couple $100, and it was giving me a couple leads here and there. But the key to it is not, I sound like a Zillow sales rep, but the key to it is just where you're spending it. I specifically went to Redford because I knew I would get more bang for my buck there.
Yeah.
So I looked for a zip code that was not Detroit necessarily, because Detroit's, I can't even imagine the calls. I mean, I would get Detroit calls anyways. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just that there's a lot of people that just call and don't even really have any intention of doing anything.
Yeah.
Anyways, point being, but in Redford, it's not a lot of the calls I get. They're not ready to buy houses. They don't know. They're calling because they want to buy a house and they have no idea where to begin. So, anyways, I always just take the opportunity to, rather than, pass them over because they're not ready to grow or buy, but I take the opportunity to teach them what they can do, point them in the right direction, connect them with the right people so that they can. So, for example, during COVID, I was sending a lot of people to credit guys to fix their credit. And some of those people are just now, a year later, coming back around saying, hey, my credit's ready to go. I now got a pre-approval. So it was, rather than, I think a lot of agents would just pass them over as a waste of time because they're not ready. I looked at it as an opportunity to, for later down the road, sale. Yeah. And then they also appreciate it because they don't know what they have to do. Their credit's bad, but they don't know how to fix it. So anyways, but I also want, when I do build my team and I build the business out, I want that to be a big part of what we do. This business is helping people, right? I mean, you're not just helping them find a house, but you're also, in my opinion, you're helping people that aren't ready to buy a house to get ready to buy a house. So a part of what I want to do in my team is just to teach them how to do those things and teach them that basic fundamental. It's like, all of these people are potential business in the future. Don't just ignore them or treat them any differently than anybody else.
Yeah, that's awesome. How can people get a hold of you?
They can go to my website at metrodetroitdave.com, or they can call me.
Sweet. I like it.
Did I just put my number out there?
Yeah, you can.
Whatever you want.
313-622-0239. But metrodetroitdave.com, you can go search houses there. You can also just send me an email, or you can hit me up on socials. Obviously, I'm very responsive on all the channels. Did we go through all the questions already? It seems like that was fast.
I think we pretty much got through most of them.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to share with everyone before we go?
I don't know. I mean, if there's other agents watching and they're not using you guys, window still photography, I encourage them highly to do so.
Hey, thanks.
Just because I have a couple clients agents that I know that are new to the business, and one of them was a photographer. She's like, I'm going to take my own photos. And I was like, no, you're not.
Like, I did the same thing. And then all of a sudden I was like, no.
Yep. I tell them the exact same story. I said, yeah, but it doesn't make any sense to. Plus, it's all about providing your client with a professional service. So if you've got a listing, yeah, sure, you can. I still see them out there, guys with their cell phones, and they're all crooked and dark, and you can't see anything. And like, why not? And even as a professional photographer, I wasn't doing what you guys are doing. You're providing a full website. You're doing the HDR photos. You're doing the overlays over the TVs. Like, that stuff I wasn't going to do. I didn't have time for that. So yeah, I encourage other agents, if you're not using window still or, for their professional photography, they highly, highly recommend it. And get professional photos for your headshots.
Yes.
I don't know that you guys necessarily do that. But there's plenty of photographers that do. And I think it's all about representing your brand. And so the first things I did was I got professional photos. I had a designer work on my marketing materials. It's like, present yourself as a professional and it will come around. It's just having the full package.
Yep. Especially because when you start out, you're like, you don't know, like, the only way to like get what you like, you got to copy pretty much almost exactly what someone else is where you're at. Like, where you're at. If they have all that stuff, then I mean, why not start out just doing that?
Right. Exactly. I mean, and if there's one thing you have in the beginning as a new agent, is time. So if you got time, spend that time getting your marketing materials together, because whenever you actually get busy, you're not going to have as much time to do those things. So, but that's actually a good question I have for you guys is how many photographers do you think you work with? Do you ever keep a tally on that?
How many photographers we have?
I'm sorry, not photographers.
Agents?
How many agents do you work with?
Agents.
Oh, a lot. We have
do you have
a calculation.
We
have a lot. We'll just say a lot.
Yeah.
Thousands.
Oh, nice.
Hey, thanks for coming on and sharing your story with us today.
Hey, anytime.
Are these working?
All right.
Here we go.
Oh, there we go. I think they're working. Should we tell them?
Mine keeps falling. It doesn't like my voice.
What do we got to tell them?
Subscribe.
Subscribe? What do we got to point at it? Hey, I think there's a subscription button. Like,
it might be there.
It might be right there too.
Somewhere.
Find
it. It's red.
Yeah. And red. It's blue. It's green. I don't really know.
It's a color.
This mic isn't even attached. Did you plug these in? Well, I guess.
I wonder if they can hear us.
Yeah. I wonder if they hear us. Well, we should probably tell them if they can hear us. We should probably tell them to also give us a 5-star review if they're listening on Apple. That'd be cool.
5 stars,
review.
guys.
Share it with everybody they can think of.
We won't take
But-
4 stars.
I mean, Taylor, I don't even think these are on. I mean,
No, I don't think this is working.
This is not working.
Yeah.